I love Dragon Ball. It's one of my favorite anime, and just like any of my other passions, there are things about it that I feel very, very strongly about.
Fusion!
Fusions. They're some of the coolest, most badass characters in not just Dragon Ball, but anime as a whole. Two warriors combined into one to make the ultimate fighter. A concept so simple, yet with levels of hype that surpass the boundaries of the universe. But even the most aura-filled characters aren't immune to criticism, and in the world of Dragon Ball, one character stands out among the rest. The Potara Juggernaut, Vegito, is my favorite character. Everything about him is just perfection. His design, his personality, his techniques, and his aura. To me, you cannot get any cooler than this. Vegito is peak, and a lot of Dragon Ball fans would agree. However, there are a select few individuals out there spreading around a rather scathing agenda that has done irreparable damage to this character's reputation. Vegito is a beloved character, no doubt about it, but in recent years, a lot more people have changed teams, which is fine, we all have our preferences, but the issue lies with blatant misconceptions. I hold the opinion that anyone is free to like or dislike anything to their heart's content, but if they're going to do so, it's best that they have all the pertinent information so they can see the full picture. And in the case of Vegito, many fans only see his character on the surface level. So let's dive deep into what kind of character Vegito really is.
なんだと言うんだ。
分かっていないのは貴様の方だ。オタラによる合体は単純なものじゃない。どうせ口で説明したってわからないだろう。教えてやるよ。
Vegito is often described as being cocky, a trait he no doubt inherited from Vegeta. In almost every single one of his appearances, Vegito was constantly throwing out snarky taunts and trash-talking his opponents. However, unlike Vegeta, there is substance to Vegito's quips. His fight with Buhan is the perfect example of this. Up to this point in the Buu saga, Majin Buu has absorbed or killed most of everyone, including Goku and Vegeta's friends and family, several of which providing Buu with a decent chunk of his power. Instead of killing Buu, Vegito developed a plan to effectively rage bait Buu into absorbing him so he could save Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Piccolo. This is made explicitly clear, so how some people miss this is beyond me. Oh wait, I forgot Dragon Ball fans can't read or watch the show. In all fairness though, I feel like this misconception isn't nearly as common as it used to be. But one I do hear surprisingly often involves magnetizing this baseless, negative stigma to his character. Ask anyone to describe Vegito's personality and they'll tell you he's a cocky bastard that doesn't take the fight seriously, always playing with his food rather than getting the job done, completely missing that Vegito only acted like he did to entice Buu into absorbing him. I don't think I need to tell you that he couldn't just tell Buu to absorb him. That would be really suspicious and stupid. And Vegito is anything but stupid. Do you remember how Vegito beat the shit out of Buhan as a literal piece of candy, puncturing a hole through his mouth and ripping off his tentacle in the process? A lot of people don't realize that this was a deliberate move from Vegito to set up an easy absorption for Buu later in the fight. Vegito even holds Buu face down directly over said tentacle so the Majin could notice it. Vegito isn't just a powerhouse, he's also a strategist. Keep in mind, Buhan has Piccolo and Gohan's intelligence, two extremely bright characters having their brain power combined, and Vegito still outsmarted him every step of the way. In addition, this goes even deeper than just baiting his opponents. Dragon Ball is a very brash anime. What most fans like about it more than anything are the intense, fast-paced battles with power-ups and transformations galore. But a battle involves more than just throwing punches. A strong body and a strong mind are essential to victory. There are several instances in the series where a character's mental struggles directly interfere with their capabilities. When Gohan jumped in front of Cell's blast to defend Vegeta and ended up losing his left arm, Gohan's confidence took a nosedive. And in the following beam clash with Cell, he needed Goku's encouragement to lift his spirits so he could unleash his true power. Also, earlier in the Buu saga, Gohan struggles against Majin Buu after he absorbs Gotenks and Piccolo. not just because of the Majin's elevated power, but because of Buu mentally tormenting Gohan with mind games thanks to Piccolo's intellect. Emotions are naturally interwoven with our physical actions, a concept that is no stranger to Dragon Ball. Just as much as anger fuels a character's power level, instability and demoralization can do the opposite. The point I'm trying to make is, psychological warfare is just another useful tool in a fighter's arsenal, and like any tool, it has its uses. Vegito is clearly a master with this. His fight with Buuhan proves it without a shadow of a doubt, plain and simple. Another argument I hear quite often argues that Vegito's plan was unnecessary. He could have just killed Buu and used the Dragon Balls to wish everyone back. I can understand this criticism, but here's my counter-argument. Goku was told by Elder Kai that fusion with the Batara is permanent. There is nothing up until the point Goku and Vegeta fused where this could be brought into question. Neither of them have any reason to believe that Elder Kai would be wrong about this. With the knowledge of their fusion being permanent, Vegito devised a plan to purposely get himself absorbed so he could save his friends and family without needing to use the Dragon Balls. Let's say, hypothetically, Elder Kai tells Goku that Batara fusion lasts for 1 hour, like Gowasu says in Dragon Ball Super. If Vegito thought his fusion only lasted an hour, do you still think he would resort to his absorption plan? We don't have a measurement for how long the fight with Buuhan actually lasted, but even if we assume it lasted less than an hour, I highly doubt Vegeta would take the chance to get himself absorbed at the risk of his fusion running out while inside Buu. Basically, if Vegito knew he had a time limit, it's highly possible that he would just obliterate Buuhan and use the Dragon Balls. In hindsight, the latter is definitely a much safer plan, but when you look at Vegito's mindset and strategy, it makes much more sense than initially perceived. Whether or not you like his way of thinking is up to you, but it's a bit unreasonable to consider his plan a completely idiotic endeavor. Now let's discuss his battle with Zamasu. A lot of people's gripes with Vegito stem from this battle much more than the previous one. To start, I want to point out that Vegito and Zamasu are not evenly matched. A lot of people are convinced that Zamasu and Vegito are very close in power, just because Zamasu managed to knock Vegito down during their fist clash, completely ignoring that just a minute earlier, Vegito obliterated Zamasu's Holy Wrath attack with one hand, leaving the deity in shock. In addition, towards the end of their fight, we can clearly see Zamasu struggling against Vegito. He's forced on the defensive, and even when he tries to land a hit, Vegito effortlessly dodges it and pummels Zamasu into the rubble. This is not an evenly matched fight. Vegito clearly has the advantage here. The only reason Zamasu shrugs off Vegito's attacks is his immortality doing the heavy lifting. Another thing worth noting is how much more serious Vegito is in this fight. He's still very snarky and throws jabs at Zamasu, but he's much more locked in than he was against Buuhan. This is why context is super important. Because Vegito doesn't have to worry about anything else other than destroying his opponent, he's not screwing around. When he has a goal, he'll fight tooth and nail to achieve it. Using every ounce of power he has, he prepares his strongest attack and goes for the kill shot on Zamasu. Now, of course, the final Kamehameha fails to finish off Zamasu because of plot armor, and Vegito defuses early. There's no getting around this one. This fight is a loss. But you know what? If Gogeta fought Zamasu, I bet you anything that the fight would play out almost identically. The only difference I can see being that Gogeta talks a bit less. A common argument I see states that Gogeta could just obliterate Zamasu with a Stardust Breaker. There are several reasons why this wouldn't work. 1. It is stated in the manga and heavily implied in the anime that Beerus cannot destroy immortal beings, despite having access to Hakai, a technique that literally erases you from existence completely. Arguing that Gogeta has the capability to obliterate Zamasu implies that Goku Black Arc Gogeta Blue is stronger than Beerus, and has an attack much more potent than Hakai. Beerus is an endless moving goalpost. The idea of Gogeta being superior to Beerus only this far into Super is asinine. Second, Vegito and Gogeta are practically the same person. Just because they both have their own signature techniques doesn't mean they aren't capable of using each other's moves. They're both fusions of Goku and Vegeta. It only makes sense that they both have access to the same techniques. Third, let's say, hypothetically, the Stardust Breaker can destroy Zamasu. Gogeta or Vegito uses it to finish him off, his body is obliterated, and the future is saved, right? Not quite. Infinite Zamasu would still make an appearance. Zamasu's immortality is powered by the Super Dragon Balls. Dragon Balls so powerful that they can resurrect multiple erased universes all at once. At no point does Super Shenron ever say, "That wish is beyond my power." As it stands, we don't know the limits of Super Shenron's power. It took Zeno, the ruler of the entire multiverse, to obliterate Zamasu. To say Gogeta or Vegito could destroy Infinite Zamasu means you think they both scale to Zeno. I know fusions are extremely powerful, but I think that's a pretty big stretch. And before any of you bring it up, I know in Dragon Ball Heroes, Heart says Gogeta could defeat the Omni King. But if you're using hero scaling to support your argument, you may as well just throw up the white flag. One final thing I want to point out is related to Gogeta's fight with Broly. This is considered a win for Gogeta, despite the fact Broly was saved at the last minute by the Dragon Balls. I'm with the vast majority on this one. I think it's inarguable that Gogeta won this fight. However, a lot of those same people will argue that Vegito lost the fight with Buhan, or at the most, consider the fight to be inconclusive. I'm not going to repeat myself on why Vegito won this battle, but I am going to call out the Gogeta fans who hypocritically argue in favor of him, but not his counterpart. Yes, I'm aware Kid Buu ended up blowing up Earth anyway, while nothing bad happened after Broly was wished away, but firstly, that wasn't Vegito's fault. Had he stayed fused, Buu would have been absolutely helpless. In addition, after the fight with Broly concluded, Gogeta could have easily obliterated Frieza with no difficulty, yet decides to let him go. And because of that, we have Black Frieza. This is a blatant double standard. In conclusion, to me, Vegito and Gogeta are equals, and this is coming from someone who likes Vegito more. Making excuses for one character and not the other is just bias, plain and simple. Everyone is allowed to have their preferences. The message of this video isn't to say you should like Vegito and if you don't, you're wrong. No. The point of this video is to correct misinformation and set the record straight. If you don't like Vegito, that's perfectly fine. But see him for the character he actually is, rather than this warped, surface-level perception of him that ignores so much context. Thank you for watching.